So yeah, if you've been looking at your own ad dashboards in the last couple of days, this is probably a familiar sight, and it's not a pretty one. So ad rates have been dropping like crazy, RPMs are going down by more than 50%, and it's just been a total mess. But before we all start panicking, there is something you do need to know about all of this, and that is that it's perfectly normal for ad rates to drop like this in January. So I've been blogging for a little over 3 years, and January, it's just always scary to log into your ad dashboard. I remember when I first started, so back in 2019, I had my first fourth quarter, and in Q4 ad rates are at an all-time high usually because of the insane ad spend for the holidays. But when you go down to January and the ad spend isn't as high anymore, there is just such a huge drop-off. And the drop-off is made even more clear by the fact that you have two polar opposites. You have Q4, which is known for the highest RPMs, and then you have Q1, which is known for the lowest RPMs. So even though January might not differ that much from, say, something like July, it may only be down by 10 or 20%. Comparing January to December and November, where the ad rates are just insane, it's just such a contrasting difference. Now, these RPM decreases are extremely common. They are basically applicable for any sort of niche. But there are a few niches that are actually not really seeing that much of an impact during January. And those are usually niches that have to do something with New Year's resolutions. So typically financial websites or websites about working out or eating healthy or dieting. Those are typically seeing some pretty good results, even in January. But for most people and for most niches, January is just going to suck, and really there's nothing we can do about it. Now, I personally don't have any sites in these New Year's resolutions type of niches. So here's a look at a few of my websites just to see how much my RPMs have dropped in the last weeks. So my English beauty site, which is my largest website, it typically had an average RPM of around $30 in Q4. And when we look at the average RPM right now, it's at about $11. So that is an insane drop-off. It's pretty unreal to see such a massive difference, but yeah, really it's not something I didn't expect. I've seen this twice before, and both times it really sucked, but it's just part of the deal. Now the same goes for video ads. If you just look at this graph, it's just dropping like crazy. I mean, I'm quite familiar with graphs that just end in a steep cliff downwards, like with my page views in the core updates, for example, but luckily this time it is something I knew would happen, but still it's not a pretty sight, of course. Now looking at my Dutch beauty site, this one saw a slightly smaller decrease. It went from an RPM of about $16 to an RPM of about $8. So that's a 50% decrease in RPMs. And for the Dutch boating site, which is already a really seasonal site, and January is already in its low season, but with this site I saw a decrease from $9 RPM to a $5 RPM. Now these RPMs are just averages, but they do kind of paint the picture that a decrease like this is perfectly normal. It happens for all of my websites, and I even have a graph of a friend of mine who has a totally different website in a different niche from all of my sites, and even he sees a pretty steep decrease. Now surprisingly, my YouTube RPMs are actually pretty steady. Now I do think this has a lot to do with the fact that my channel is of course about making money and blogging, and as I just mentioned, these financial type websites and of course also YouTube channels will not be hit as much. Most people in January make some sort of New Year's resolution like I'm gonna lose this much weight, or I'm gonna save this much money, I'm going to start a side hustle, or whatever. And with these New Year's resolutions, they maybe even end up by creating a blog, which is what my channel is about. So maybe that's the reason why my YouTube channel isn't really seeing any decrease. I'm actually surprised by the fact that it's basically steady. There hasn't really been any RPM or CPM differences. But as I mentioned, this is completely normal, and I don't really expect anything else in January. And to prove that, I'm going to go over a few indexes from popular ad networks. So I know that Ezoic has an ad revenue index, and Mediafine has a sort of calendar to show just what dates and what times of the year are going to be great for RPMs and which are going to be worse for RPMs. So let's dive into that. So here we are in Ezoic, and this is the online ad revenue index from Ezoic, and right here you can already see that there's just a huge drop off in ad spend. So right here we've got Black Friday, which is November 26th, which is the 100%. And then looking at January 1st, we're already at 46%. December was averaging around 70%, so that's a pretty steep drop off. And that's for this year. We can look back at 2021 And right here you can see the exact same. Right here you got December 31st and then January 1st. It's just a pretty steep drop off. To prove that point, here we go, 2020, again a slightly lesser drop off, but still a drop. 2019, once again a drop off. And 2018, here we are, again a drop off. This one is actually pretty small, but you can see that these drops are very common. They're just always there. And the great thing you can also see about it from this is that ad revenue and ad spend is just constantly rising. It's just a lot lower. As you can see, it just keeps dropping the more years we go back. So that's actually very nice to see that ad spend is just increasing in general. But right here you can just see that from December to January, it's just normal to see. And Mediafine also proves that with their calendar. So right here you can see that red means a really low RPM, really bad days. Green means it's average, yellow is between red and green, and blue are those days with really high ad spend. So right here you can see that in January basically everything is red. There's a few orange and yellow. It's just a bad month. Compare that to the likes of December, where everything is totally blue and green, which is the highest it can be according to this legend right here. It's just a really, really big contrast between these 2 months. Now the cool thing about this calendar is that you also have, you can also see certain days, like here you can see New Year's Day is pretty decent. It's actually better than most of the other days in January. You got February 7th is Super Bowl, which doesn't really increase much. February 14th is Valentine's Day, and you can see the days leading up to Valentine's Day are pretty high in RPMs. March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, again, it doesn't really influence that much, but you can also see that at the end of every quarter, you will see a lot more blue. So right here is a lot more blue than in the other days. Right here is a lot more blue than in the other months. And here again, and here again. It's just a really cool thing to see. I will link these graphs and indexes in the description down below if you want to check it out for yourself. But really what it comes down to is that this kind of adpocalypse, it's perfectly normal and there's nothing to worry about, and all we can do is just wait it out and wait for the better months to come. Now I do also want to give a short update on my goals so far this year. I made a video about my goals for the year, and it basically came down to that in January and in Q1 in general, I want to average 30 articles a month. And so far, I'm recording this on January 12th and I only written 4 articles. Now that is just not enough, not at all. But there are a few reasons for that. And the first one is that I was about a week away. I was visiting family, I had a weekend off with my girlfriend, but those were some days where I just didn't really work that much. Now that is not to say that I did not work at all. So another reason for why I haven't written that many articles is because I started a 7-day free trial for Ahrefs. And I started this trial on December 31st. So I had 7 days of free Ahrefs, for $7 Ahrefs. So I basically poured most of my time into using Ahrefs to find keywords, to do keyword research, to just get the most out of it. So that's where a lot of my time and a lot of my focus went. And I think that it's actually a good investment. I have so many keywords to write on for now. And it's just amazing that this hit list is extended by so many articles in just a week. So I do think that I spent my time productively. It wasn't in writing articles, but luckily a lot of my orders are probably going to come in either this week or next week. So my writer is going to deliver in the coming 2 weeks. I have my order with Rewrite blog posts and they are going to probably deliver in the coming weeks as well. So there are a lot of articles that are going to be coming in. But I do need to write myself, of course. And now that I am back home again, I do think that I will be writing at least an article a day. I want to average about 1 or 2 articles a day myself. So when you combine my own writing with what the content services and my writers will deliver, I do think that I will reach that 30 article goal. Now, aside from the writing, I did do some other things, and those are mainly to do with my consumptions website. So in my last income reports video, I mentioned how I'm going to prep this website for an exit. So what I've been doing is I have enabled Ezoic ads on the site. And the cool thing about this is that even though we're in January, It started off with an RPM of around $20, which is extremely high. It's a lot higher than I ever would have thought it would be. $20 in the lowest month of the year. I cannot wait to see what it will do in the coming few months. So I put the Zoke ads on the website. I also scripted and created 2 videos for video ads on this website. I am just currently having problems with their placeholder extension. It's for some reason no longer working for that particular website. I tried it on my other sites and it worked perfectly fine, but for whatever reason it doesn't work on this website. And sadly their support is a little bit wonky. It's pretty difficult to actually get in touch with another human. They have a lot of articles and stuff, but sometimes you just want to talk it through with someone else. And it's pretty difficult to get in contact with someone from a Zoic nowadays. My account manager has also been gone for like half a year. I have shot him about 6 emails and none of them have ever gotten a reply. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I will try to find a different solution for that because I do want these video ads up, as I want my RPMs to be as high as possible for as large as possible multiplier and eventually exit. Anyway, the only thing left for me to do on that website is to find an affiliate program, insert some affiliate links. I do have a few product focused articles, so inserting those links in there should hopefully lead to some conversions. And I think with the high RPM from display ads combined with the possible high RPM on these video ads and then an affiliate program, I think that this website is going to look at a pretty decent RPM. Now with this RPM, I of course am hoping to get as high of a multiple as possible. I am shooting for a 40 times multiple. Anyway, that is something for in the future. I'm going to hold on to the site for a few months because I want an average monthly income for a more better representation of what this website can do. And I would prefer if that monthly average isn't based on just the worst performing months in terms of ad rates. Anyway, that is it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.